The brain is a fascinating part of our anatomy that still has a lot of mysteries. But neuroscience has actually helped us understand a lot of how the brain works in connection to emotions and learning. So, if you haven't watched and read the article, The Neuroscience of Learning, yet, and listened to how the brain works, be sure you do that first. That'll help make this a little bit clearer. So neuroscience has made a lot of strides, and in the article you're going to listen and read about Dr. Imordino Yang, which has done which she has done. She's well known. She's done a lot of this research into the brain and into emotions, and she says, "quote It is literally neurobiologically impossible to think deeply about things you do not care about." End quote. I find that extremely interesting because how many kids come in and say are interested and care a great deal about geometry or algebra or grammar. It's going to say you're going to find few kids that come in and they actually care about it. So, how do we get them to learn? How do we get them to care, I should say, about it and so that they can learn? Well, our current approach is we play on the emotion of fear and we test students. And what drives them to study is the fear of failure. But fear does not stay with us. Fear is one of those things that as soon as the event is over, our emotions subside and it doesn't connect with our long term memory. It only connects with that flight or flight part of the brain. So if we go back to the Plutchnik model and we talk about anger and fear motivating us to push through and to protect ourselves, if we're just using testing as our model here, there's no room to learn. There's no room for that learning to make it to our long term memory. But anticipation, joy, and trust encourage us to move towards curiosity and connection. And according to Dr. Imordino Yang, the answer to how to make great learning is a combination of safety and significance. So, how do we do this? Well, Dr. Imordino Yang talks about how, first of all, we need to help students understand why we're learning it. Make connections to the bigger picture so that they can begin to care. So, it could be a real world connection. It could be a connection to something that that's coming up that they're learning about. They need to know why it matters. The teacher needs to show vulnerability and adaptability. They need to show it's okay to fail. They need to model think aloud, and that promotes that safety. Accept and encourage curiosity. Classrooms, a lot of classrooms today, we are in a hurry. We want to get through the material and we don't leave a lot of time for kids to explore and be curious. Those are the ways that we create connections with the long-term memory, is to engage the cognitive part of our brain, allow students to ask questions and make discoveries. The next thing would be to build intrinsic motivation using hooks. So, if you always present your lessons the same way, or you just dive into the lesson first thing in the morning and you don't ever create excitement, then right away it's going to turn into, mundane boredom, which is going to lead to loathing. So, creating hooks, using videos, using games, using unique and curiosity provoking questions, incorporating some sort of physical activity, something that starts that curiosity and gets them engaged in the learning. And then lastly, and just as important as all the others, is identify your goal as a teacher. Why are you in that classroom with those kids? Is it because you want those kids to pass the test? Or do you want them to be problem solvers, communicators? Do you want them to be able to collaborate and be productive citizens? So you need to think about how you're teaching your lesson with that goal in mind when you're planning it. The neurons in our brain create neural pathways to help us remember what we learned. The more we use our brain to create the pathway, the more you're going to learn. Emotions have a huge impact on the way we learn. If we're feeling stressed, we're feeling any kind of anxiety, it's difficult to learn. When our brain is focused on a threat or fear or some type of worry, our brain actually releases chemicals like adrenaline or cortisol, which alter our thoughts and our feelings and our actions, which makes it difficult to think clearly and take in information. Neuroscience has shown that we learn best when we're happy and relaxed. That's when we process most efficiently. So think about what's going on in the classroom, and are your students happy and relaxed? What are you doing to help to foster that feeling?